Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm going to be doing a book review of One Way by S.J. Morden. S.J. Morden is also known as Simon Morden. S.J. I presume is his initials. Now this is being published by Gollancz and it is going to be released tomorrow on the 10th of April, which as of this exact moment is the day after this video is being uploaded. This is a science fiction thriller and one that I really enjoyed, and over the course of this video I will tell you why and some interesting ideas about what this book is trying to say. So, first of all, the plot of One Way is actually relatively simple in concept as such, and I'll try to explain it as concisely as I can. Now, a large tech company is bidding for the contract to help NASA make a research base on Mars, which they will be calling Mars Base 1. Oddly enough, this company goes by the initials EXO Systems, although for the course of the book it's just called EXO for short. And this company is bidding for it by saying that they have the technology to create a Mars Base 1 with really advanced technology that will essentially build itself. It will just land on Mars, unpack, and essentially self-build. They get the contract offered to them, and they accept it, so they're successful. Unfortunately, though, all these promises of this technology that they've been saying just to get the contract, the company doesn't really have that technology. I mean, they have it in theory, but theory is different from the practical application. And basically, if they tried to run this mission using the technology that they've stated, they could do it, but there'd be absolutely no profit in it. And this is obviously a commercial company, a big tech one. So they realise they're going to have to do something a bit different. So the idea they come up with, quite simply, is instead to send 8 convicts who happen to have been convicted for life for various offences, several of them being murder. If they train them and then send them up to Mars, they can then live on very basic rations because they're already prisoners, so nobody really cares about them, or at least that's what they think. And they can build this habitat for the NASA scientists who will is already on their way to live in, and then they can do their experiments and things, and then they will essentially just be caretakers, essentially, and maintenance men. And this sounds like a good idea to them, so they enact it. However, it doesn't really go the way they want, because remember, you're not talking about 8 highly moral people as such. You're talking about people who have committed some really quite horrible crimes, some worse than others, but they're not exactly necessarily automatically the nicest people, although you say that about anybody. So this presents some problems when they get to Mars, accidents start to occur, or at least that's what certain people call them. The convicts themselves, they don't strictly believe that these are accidents because they are disposable, remember. Who can say what exactly is an accident and what is premeditated murder to get rid of the disposable workforce who nobody cares about? And frankly, when the scientists get there, who really wants a load of convicts around, really? I mean, how many do you really need? Many? Not really. So the plot goes from there, and I'm not going to say too much more because I'll spoil the plot. So, as you might have gathered, I found this concept to be quite an interesting one. Now, the idea of going to another planet, like Mars, but any planet really, and making some sort of base, whether it's for colonisation, or whether it's just for a science base, or research, or some sort of weapons research, or whatever. This is not a new idea in books. Indeed, obviously, there's many films and things where this goes on. But the idea that you have 8 prisoners sent in there, and they're all life imprisonment, for various quite violent crimes, and this interesting psychology that it creates, because obviously these are lifers, as you might say. So some of them are quite moral. They just be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or at least that's what they believe. That's what some other people believe, but some people think they are, scum. That's what, they're just prisoners, whatever, they don't give them any benefit of the doubt, and they don't try to help them redeem themselves in any way. They're just disposable. So this creates an interesting dynamic, and because they're also doing technical work, all eight of the people in question all have their own fields. They're all sort of got qualifications, obviously since before they committed whatever crime it was. Whether it be electrical, building, plumbing, agriculture in some way, hydroponics and things. They've all got their own field, but they're also all trying to learn a little bit of each other's field, because obviously if somebody has an accident, which occurs, although it might not be an accident, then somebody will need to take over another person's role. And this creates an interesting dynamic, because none of these 8 prisoners know each other before the start of the book, and then they're kind of forced to work together. It's like, right, you can go to Mars and live, you're still in prison because you can't escape from Mars, but at least you'll have a certain amount of freedom, because you'll be able to have dinner and breakfast and be able to talk to who you want, do whatever you want within reason. Obviously they're in a very confined environment, but it's more freedom than what they have in prison, and for several of them it's a lot safer as well, because obviously in prison there's a lot more people, there's gangs and things, gang violence in prisons, so they could easily get killed in prisons. In fact, several of them are quite happy to go to Mars to get away from almost certain death within the next year or two within prison. And the psychology, as I mentioned, makes for some very interesting characters, because each character has its own moral compass. They also have their own flaws and their own strengths, and they all play off each other in a rather interesting way, which I found was really interesting and more nuanced than what it appears on the surface, because on the surface this appears fairly straightforward and quite simple, but it's actually a lot more than that. I mean, the concept is relatively simple as such, but it's not. The book is not simple. It's actually quite complex, and I really enjoyed it because there's more layers to this than when it first appears, and I really enjoyed reading about the characters and learning what each of them is capable of, what they're not capable of, and how they interact. And the main character is a guy called Frank. He is indeed a murderer. He shot somebody because they were doing something to his son. A drug dealer, and he got sent down. He admits it freely, and now he's in prison for life. And he is indeed the point of view character for the book. It's through his eyes and his experiences. So if something happens when he's not there, you only know about it when he arrives, and then he has to try and figure out what's happened. So he's kind of a vague detective feel about him in places as well, which is curious because he is a criminal and a murderer. So this again is another interesting aspect. As far as the world is concerned, the first 1/3 of the book takes place on Earth. The first initial little bit takes place in the prison with Frank, where he gets offered this rather unusual opportunity to go to Mars. Then it takes place on a training facility where they are trained really harshly and really quite brutally to get them ready in a really fast time to go to Mars. Then the second and third thirds of the book take place on Mars itself. When they land, they have to build their habitat straight away, because obviously there is nothing built. It's all being just dropped down and parachuted onto the surface of Mars. So they've got to go collect it, put it together, and build it up into this habitat, which again it's not super technical either, by the way. Unlike something like The Martian by Andy Weir, it's practical but not super technical, which I quite liked, because you get an interesting mix of both sort of practical sides and psychology and character development and many other aspects of the book. It's quite balanced, actually, more than you'd think. Start with, you think it's going to be one thing, and it's not quite that. And indeed, obviously, that goes with the title, one way. This is not just one way, not one way of looking at things. There are multiple ways of looking at it. You've just got to look beyond the surface and see what S.J. Morden is trying to say and what he's looking at. Because whilst it is indeed a fast, fun-paced science fiction thriller, it's also more. It depends on what you want to take from it. If you want take it to be a simple, straightforward science fiction thriller, then that's what it is. But if you want it to be more, then it is more, because there are more layers than what it appears. So overall, I really enjoyed One Way. I thought it was an interesting, fast-paced science fiction thriller with interesting characters who have an interesting psychology behind them, with really curious motivations, because of course they're all convicted for life for various crimes. Some of them are murderers, some of them are just things extremely serious, and this creates interesting dynamics between the characters, and indeed obviously the people back on Earth who are then sort of sending the messages and things, and it creates for an interesting mix of characters, action and setting, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. And I would heavily recommend this for anybody wanting a science fiction book with thriller elements, which is both fast paced and just really fun, because I really enjoyed this book. It's not a super long book, it's sort of fairly average size. It's about just under 400 pages, or at least this particular edition by Gollancz, and I would recommend this because I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's just a really good book. And with that said, that is it for this review. So if you've read this or are planning to fairly soon, then please leave a comment. All my social media links can be found in the description box below as well. And that is it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.